नमस्ते एवरीवन। बोलिए सत्य सनातन वैदिक धर्म की जय। क्या हालचाल आप सबके? आप सब कैसे हैं? परिवार से मिले कि नहीं? संडे का टाइम कैसे बिताया? हाउ वाज योर संडे? ज़रूर बताइएगा। तो हमारा न्याय वैशेषिका फिलॉसफी ख़त्म हो गया था ऑन फ्राइडे, and we have to now start with Mimamsa philosophy, Mimamsa literature, right? The comparative review. पहले author is giving the comparative review between the न्याय वैशेषिका and the Mimamsa. The Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy looked at experience from purely common sense point of view and did not work with any such monistic tendency that the ultimate conception of our common sense experience should be considered as coming out of an original universe. Example, Prakriti of Sankhya, of the Sankhya. तो न्याय वैशेषिका फिलॉसफी जो हम देखते थे, जो प्रैक्टिकली फीजिबल होता था या फिर जो लॉजिकली फीजिबल होता था, वो उसी को अंडरस्टैंड करते थे। एंड टेंडेंसी दैट अल्टीमेट कंसेप्शन ऑफ आवर कॉमन सेंस, बट वो मोनिस्टिक टेंडेंसी नहीं होती थी कि जो हमारा अल्टीमेट कंसेप्शन है दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द ओरिजिनल यूनिवर्स और प्रकृति विच वी कॉल इन सांख्या। Space, time, the four elements, soul, etc., convey the impression that they are substantive entities or substances. स्पेस टाइम तो इस पे हम डिस्कशन देख चुके हैं। द फोर एलिमेंट्स, soul, etc., convey the impression that they are substantive entities or substances, right? What is perceived of the material things as qualities such as color, taste, etc., is regarded as so many entities which have distinct and separate existences, but which manifest themselves in connection with the substance. So, also karma or action is supposed to be a separate entity, and even the class notion are perceived as separate entities inhering in substance. Knowledge, jnana, which illuminates all things, is regarded only as a quality belonging to soul, just as there are other qualities of materials. ये हमने पढ़ा था, in which the philosophy said that it is only in the presence of light that you see other elements. अगर light नहीं होगी तो हमें other elements दिखेंगे नहीं. So that is why they perceive that light is having the property of knowledge. With the knowledge only you will get to understand each and every aspect of life, या फिर each and every aspect whatever you are seeing, right? Causation is viewed merely as a collation of condition. कॉजेशन, किसी चीज का क्रिएट होना या फिर कॉज होना, दैट इज जस्ट मेयरली सीन एज समथिंग दैट इज सर्कमस्टेंशियल, कि सर्कमस्टांसेस वैसे बने तो हो गया, राइट? या फिर ऐसी कंडीशंस ऐसी बनी, जैसे दूध दही कब बनेगा, तब कंडीशंस जैसे वैसे रही होंगी, तभी दूध को दही तभी दूध दही बनेगी, राइट? The genesis of knowledge is also viewed as similar in nature to to the production of any other physical event. Thus, just as by the collocation of certain physical circumstances, a jug and its qualities are produced, so by the combination of respective contacts of the soul, mind, sense, and the objects of sense, knowledge, jnana is produced. Soul with Nyaya is an inert, unconscious entity in which knowledge, etc., inhere. The relation between the substance and its qualities, action, class, notion, etc., has to be admitted as a separate entity, as without it, the different entities without any principle of relation would naturally fail to give us a philosophical construction. यानी कि अगर हमें फिलोसफिकली कंस्ट्रक्ट करना है कि कौन सी चीज़ किस प्रॉपर्टी में आएंगी, तो हमें उसकी प्रॉपर्टीज तो निकाल के रखनी पड़ेंगी ना. जैसे हाउ वी क्लासिफाई डिफरेंट ह्यूमंस, दे आर गुड, दे आर बैड, दे आर वर्स्ट, ऑल दीज आर डिफरेंट ह्यूमंस दैट आर देयर. नाउ हाउ डू यू डिफाइन दोज डिफरेंट ह्यूमंस? तो वैसे ही अगर आपकी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, डिफरेंट एंटिटीज हैं, सेपरेट, वो सबको सेपरेट एंटिटी करना पड़ेगा, उसकी क्वालिटी को, एक्शन को, एंड क्लास नोशन के. जैसे इन ह्यूमंस आल्सो दे आर ब्राह्मण्स, वैश्य, शूद्रास, और वो भी देखने को मिल रहा है. मींस एज एंड व्हेन the lower class is getting powerful, they are creating more of an unstable environment in the country. So हमारे बड़े बुजुर्गों ने कुछ सही देख परख के ही कुछ डिसीजंस लिए होंगे, आई सपोज दैट, राइट. The relationship between a substance and its qualities, action, class, notion, etc., has to be admitted in separate entity. As without it, the different entities being without any principle of relation. यानी कि principles भी होंगे relation के, कि ऐसा होगा तो ऐसे में हम differentiate कर पाएंगे, would naturally fail to give us a philosophical construction. तो अगर हम differentiate नहीं करेंगे तो हमारे को philosophical construction करने में problem आएगी. Sankhya had had conceived of a principle which consisted of an infinite number of reals of three different types, which by their combination were conceived to be able to produce all substances, qualities, actions, etc. No difference has acknowledged to existence between substances, qualities, actions, and it was conceived that these were but so many aspects of combination of the three types of reals in different proportions. The reals contained within them the rudiment of all developments of matter, knowledge, willing, feelings, etc. As combination of reals changed instantly and new phenomena of matter and mind were manifested. Collocations did not bring about any new thing, but brought about a phenomena which was already there in its cause in another form. What we call knowledge or thought ordinarily is with them merely a form of subtle illuminating matter stuff. Sankhya holds, however, that there is transcendent entity as pure consciousness, and that by some kind of transcendent reflection or contact, this pure consciousness transforms the bare translucent thought matter into conscious uh, thought or experience of a person. यानी कि जो भी हम किसी चीज़ को नॉलेज कहते हैं, सांख्या holds however that there is transcendental entity or as pure consciousness, and that by some kind of transcendent reflection or contact, this pure conscious transfers into pure translucent thought matter. यानी कि one theory says that there is a light, and with the help of light you are able to see all the other things available. You are able to see what is truth with the help of knowledge. But they say that there is another entity which is transcendental entity है, जो pure conscious entity as pure consciousness, which is as pure consciousness, and that some kind of transcendent reflection or contact, this pure consciousness transforms the bare translucent thought matter into consciousness, thought, or experience of a person. But this hypothesis of a pure self as essentially distinct and separate from knowledge as ordinarily understood can hardly be demonstrated in our common sense experience, and this has been pointed out by Nyaya school in a very strong and emphatic manner. Every Sankhya did not try to prove that the existence of its transcendent Purusha could be demonstrated in experience, and it had to attempt to support its hypothesis of the existence of a transcendent self on the ground of the need of a permanent entity as a fixed object to which the passing states of knowledge could cling, and on ground of moral struggle towards virtue and emancipation. Sankhya at first supposed knowledge to be merely a combination of changing reals, and then had as a matter of necessity to admit a fixed principle as Purusha, pure transcendent consciousness. The self is thus here, in some sense, an object of inference to fill up the gap left by inadequate analysis of consciousness, buddhi, as being non-intelligent and incessantly changing. यानी कि बुद्धि जो है that changes regularly and not intelligent. Nyaya fared no better, for it also had to demonstrate self on the ground that since knowledge existed, it was a quality and therefore must inherit in some substance. न्याय कहते हैं क्योंकि ये क्वालिटी है, दैट इज वाई इट विल इनहेर इन सम सब्सटेंस. जैसे इसकी क्वालिटी है, दैट इज अनब्रेकेबल है, या फिर स्टेनलेस स्टील है, या फिर थर्मस है, इट इज इनहर्ड इन द सब्सटेंस. वैसे ही न्याया फार नो बेटर, तो उन्होंने यही बोला कि क्योंकि एक क्वालिटी है दैट शुड कंटेन इन दैट सब्सटेंस. This hypothesis is again based upon another uncritical assumption that substances and the attributes were merely separate, and that it has the nature of the latter to inhere in the former, and also that knowledge has a quality requiring, similarly with other attributes, a substance in which to inhere. None of them could take their stand upon the self conscious nature of our ordinary thought and draw their conclusions on the strength of the direct evidence of this self conscious thought. Of course, it is true that Sankhya had approached nearer to this view than Nyaya, but it had separated the content of knowledge and its essence so irrevocably that it threatened to break the integrity of thought in a manner quite unwarranted by common sense experience, which does not seem to reveal this dual element in thought. Of course, it is true that Sankhya had approached nearer to this view than Nyaya, but it had separated the content of knowledge and its essence so irrevocably that it threatened to break the integrity of thought in a manner quite unwarranted by common sense experience, which does not seem to reveal this dual element of in thought. यानी कि ये जो अब तक चल रहा है, ये वाद चल रहा है between the न्याय and the सांख्या on the thought of different elements and on the thought के how these two theories different. They are आस्तिक दर्शनास, but how we perceive things, these are different. कि हम perceive कैसे करते हैं. इसका एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं देखूं कि अगर आप एक डिज़ाइनर हैं या आर्किटेक्ट है, तो बेसिकली हाउ यू विल परसीव थिंग्स इन अ स्टार्ट. तो अगर किसी को in a sense, if you have to create things so obvious or great, in that case it is telling how the things are to be designed, right? Anyhow, the unification of the content of thought and its essence had to be made. यानी कि यूनिफिक जो हम सोच रहे हैं और जो इसका एसेंस है, that has to be made, and this could not be done except by what may be regarded as makeshift, a transcendent illusion running on from beginningless time. These difficulties occurred because Sankhya soared to a region which was not directly illuminated by the light of common sense experience. The Nyaya position is, of course, much worse as a metaphysical solution, for it did not indeed try to solve anything, but only gave us a schedule of inferential results, which could not be tested by experience, and which was based ultimately on one sided and uncritical assumptions. It is an uncritical common sense experience that substance are different from qualities and actions, and that the latter inhere in the former. The base To base the whole of metaphysics on such a tender and fragile experience is to say the least, building on a weak foundation. It was necessary that the importance of the self revealing thought must be brought to the forefront. Its evidence should be collected and trusted, and an account of experience should be given according to its verdict. No construction of metaphysics can ever satisfy us which ignores the direct, immediate conviction of self conscious thought. It is a relief to find that movement of philosophy in this direction is ushered in by Mimamsa system. The Mimamsa Sutras were written by Jamini and the commentary Bhashya on it was written by Shabada. तो मीमांसा सूत्रास किसने लिखे हैं? जैमिनी ने. एंड उसकी जो कमेंट्री है भाष्य on it was written by Shabada, but the systematic collaboration of it was made by Kumarila. Systematic collaboration अगर आप क्योंकि होता क्या है whenever you are making a new system तो उसमें there are different people, there different people will be having their own knowledge, their own experiences. तो आप उन एक्सपीरियंस को डिसरिगार्ड नहीं कर पाओगे. When there are different experiences, कौन सा एक्सपीरियंस कौन सा व्यू कहाँ पे लगेगा इन द फिलॉसफी एंड हाउ विल यू आइडेंटिफाई दैट फिलॉसफी, उसको इलेबोरेशन की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. तो वो कुमारिला ने किया, who proceeded to great Shankaracharya and a disciple of Kumarila Prabhakar. राइट. तो इलेबोरेशन जो किया वो कुमारिला ने किया, who preceded जो who preceded the great Shankaracharya and a disciple of Kumarila Prabhakar, right. The Mimamsa literature, it is difficult to say how the sacrificial system of worship grew in India in the Brahmins. This system, once set up, gradually began to develop into a network of elaborate rituals, the details of which were probably taken note of by the priests. As some generation passed and the sacrifice spread over large tracts of India and grew up into more and more elaborate details, the old rules and regulations began to be collected probably as tradition had it, and this it seems gave rise to Smriti literature. This discussion and doubts become more common about many intricacies and sacrificial rituals, and regular rational inquiries into them were begun in different circles by different scholars and priests. These represent the beginnings of Mimamsa literature attempts at rational query, and it is probable that there were different schools of this thought. जैसे कहते हैं कि India is a big country. There would be certain rituals that will be there in you may say northeast. There would be certain rituals that will be in south. They are different. There will be certain rituals that will be in middle India or in the western part of India, Rajasthan, Gujarat. And there would be certain rituals that will be different in north. There were different rituals that were there in Jammu and Kashmir. So it was the hub of priests. It was the hub of temple priests. Now you will see how it is disputed was all the priests that got converted into Muslims. Now those clever priests who got converted into Muslims, the pundits who may say, now how difficult is to deal with them now. Now they have become the negatives of the highest negatives, right? So I don't see them as enemies. I just see them as a different sect of people. They have their own traditions and cultures which changed. तो जब ये सारी तो फिर उसके लिए discussions भी होने लग गए. So then there were smritis that were being defined. Now with those smritis only you are to see how these things differ. These represent the beginnings of Mimamsa literature. Um, इसीलिए there would be different schools of thought as well, जिसको बाद में जैमिनी ने या फिर कुमारिला ने elaborate किया, right? Now that Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutras, which are with us, the foundation of Mimamsa, are only a comprehensive and systematic compilation of one school, is evident from the references he gives in the view of different matters of other preceding writers who dealt with the subject. These works are not available now, and we cannot say how much of what Gemini has written in his original work and how much of it is borrowed. But it may be said with some degree of confidence that it was deemed so masterly a work, at least of one school, that it has survived all other attempts that were made before him. Gemini's Mimamsa Sutras were probably written about 200 BC and are now the groundwork of the Mimamsa system. Commentaries were written on it by various persons such as Bhatramitra, alluded to in Ratnakara and Shlokvartika, Bhavadasha, Pratigya Sutra, Hari and Upavarsha mentioned in Shastadipika. It is probable that at least some of these preceded Shabada. The writer of the famous commentary known as the Shabada Bhashya. तो यही कहते हैं कि कुछ इनमें से जो टेक्स्ट हैं वो शबदा को प्रिसीड करते हैं, यानी कि उनसे पहले लिखे गए हैं. द राइटर ऑफ द फेमस कमेंट्री शबदा भाषा. It is difficult to say anything about the time in which he flourished. Dr. Ganganath Jha would have him about 57 BC on the evidence of the current verse, which speaks of King Vikramaditya as being the son of Shabadashwamin by Kshatriya wife. The Bhashya of Shabada is the basis of later Mimamsa works. It was commented upon by an unknown person alluded by Vartikakara, by Prabhakara, and merely referred to as Yuthahu, as they say by Kumarila. Dr. Ganganath Jha says that Prabhakara's commentary, Brihati, on the Shabada Bhashya was based upon the work of Vartikakara. The Brihati of Prabhakara, who had another commentary on it, uh, Rajuvimala, by Shalikanath Mishra, who also wrote a compendium of the Prabhakara's interpretation of Mimamsa called Prakarn Panchika. Tradition says that Prabhakara, often referred to as Nibandhakara, whose view are often alluded to as Guru Mata, was a pupil of Kumarila. Kumarila Bhatta is traditionally believed to be senior contemporary of Shankara. Wrote his celebrated independent exposition of Shabada Bhashya in three parts known as Shlokvartika, dealing only with philosophical part of Shabada's work as contained in the first chapter of the first book known as Tarkapada. Tantravartika, dealing with the remaining three chapters of the first book, the second and the third book, and Tuptika, containing brief notes of remaining nine books. Kumarila is referred to by his later followers as Bhatta, Bhattapada, and Vartikakara. The next great Mimamsa scholar and the follower of Kumarila was Mandana Mishra, the author of Vidhi Viveka, Mimamsa Sunukramani, and the commentary or commentator of Tantravartika, who became later on converted by Shankara to Vedantism. Padarth Sarathi Mishra, about 9th century AD, wrote his Shastra Deepika, Tantra Ratna, and Nyaya Ratnamala, following the footsteps of Kumarila. तो न्याय रत्नामाला जब आएगा ये philosophical text होगा which was written by Kumarila. No, it was written by Parth Sarthi Mishra. Okay. Amongst the numerous other followers of Kumarila, the names of Sucharita Mishra, the author of Kashika, and Someshwara, the author of Nyaya Shuddha, deserve special notice. Ramakrishna Bhatta wrote an excellent commentary on the Tarkapada of Shastra Deepika called the Yukti Seha Purani Siddhant Chandrika, and Somnatha wrote his Mayukha Malika on the remaining chapters of Shastra Deepika. Other important current Mimamsa works which deserve notice are such as Malvishtara of Madhava, Subodhini, Mimamsa Bal Prakasha of Shankara Bhatta, न्याय कनिका ऑफ वाचस्पति मिश्रा, न्याय कनिका ऑफ वाचस्पति मिश्रा ये भी आपके यूजीसी नेट में मैच द फॉलोइंग में आया हुआ। मीमांसा परिभाषा बाय कृष्ण यज्ञान यजवान, कृष्ण यजवान, मीमांसा परिभाषा बाय कृष्ण यजवान, मीमांसा न्याय प्रकाश बाय अनंत देव, गाग भट्टास भट्ट चिंतामणि. Most of these the books mentioned here have been consulted in the writing or have been consulted in writing of this chapter. The importance of Mimamsa literature for Hindu is indeed great. For not only are all Vedic duties to be performed according to its maxims, but even the Smriti literatures, which regulate the daily duties, ceremonials, and rituals of Hindus, even at the present day, are all guided and explained by them. अच्छा इसलिए बाकी सारी स्मृतियाँ जलाई जा रही हैं. That's sad. तो ये लिखा हुआ है जो स्मृतिज हैं. The importance of Mimamsa literature for Hindu is indeed great. यानी कि why is Mimamsa so important? For not only are all Vedic duties to be performed according to its maxims, कि हम जितने भी वैदिक ड्यूटीज करते हैं वो हम किस तरीके से परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं वो, बट इवन द स्मृति लिटरेचर्स विच रेगुलेट द डेली ड्यूटीज. स्मृति लिटरेचर जैसे मनुस्मृति हो गया, तो इन्होंने कोई ना कोई स्मृति को जलाना था, तो अब उसमें तो ये लिखे हुए कि हमें डेली ड्यूटीज कैसे करनी है. सेरेमोनियल्स एंड रिचुअल्स ऑफ हिंदूज even at the present day are all guided and explained by them. The legal side of the Smritis consisting of inheritance, property rights, adoption, etc., which guide Hindu civil life, even under the British administration, is explained according to the Mimamsa maxims. यानी कि जो भी हमें अभी जितनी भी लड़ाइयाँ हो रही हैं, inheritance, property ritual, property rights, proprietary rights, adoption, etc., which guide Hindu civil life, even Mimamsa maxims, even under the British administration, है कि British administration में हम वो survive कर गए, लेकिन हम अपना ही administration अभी survive नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. तो ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि शायद हम स्मृतिज पढ़ना भूल गए हैं. Its relation to the Vedanta philosophy will be briefly indicated in the next chapter. The relations with the Nyaya Vaisheshika have been pointed out in the various places in this chapter. The views of the two schools, Mimamsa as propounded by Prabhakara and Kumarila, on all important topics have also been pointed out. तो जितने भी important topics थे of Mimamsa philosophy of the two schools by Prabhakara and Kumarila are also important topics have been pointed out. Prabhakara's view, however, could not win many followers in later times, but while living, it is said that he was regarded by Kumarila as a very strong rival. यानी कि जब when after his death, then definitely it was not an important thing, but at the time when Prabhakara was there, then it was a good he was a good competitor of Kumarila. There is a story that Kumarila, not being able to convert Prabhakara, his own pupil, to his views, attempted a trick and pretended that he was dead. His disciple then asked Prabhakara whether his burial rites should be performed according to Kumarila's view or Prabhakara's. Prabhakara said that his own views were erroneous, but these were held by him only to rouse up Kumarila's pointed attacks, whereas Kumarila's views were the right ones. Kumarila then rose up and said that Prabhakara was defeated, but the latter said he was not defeated so long as he was alive. But this has of course no historic value. So yeah, um, दिस इज अ गुड स्टोरी दो कि आप अपनी फिलॉसफी को करने के लिए यू आर डूइंग वेरियस अदर थिंग्स. आजकल लड़ाइयाँ हो जाती हैं इन केस ऑफ डिफरेंट थ्योरीज. Hardly any new contribution has been made by the Mimamsa philosophy after Kumarila and Prabhakara. The Mimamsa Sutras deal mostly with the principles of interpretation of the Vedic texts in connection with the sacrifice, and very little of philosophy can be gleaned out of them. Shabara's contribution are also slight and vague. Vartikakara view also can only be gathered from the reference to them by Kumarila and Prabhakara. What we know of Mimamsa philosophy consists of their view and their alone. It did not develop any further after them. Works written on the subject in later times were but of a purely expository nature. I do not know of any work on Mimamsa written in English except the excellent one by Dr. Ganganath Jha on the Prabhakar Mimamsa, to which I frequently referred. तो इन्होंने जितना भी रेफरेंस दिया है that is of Prabhakara Mimamsa, right? Now, कोई भी ज्ञान का उत्सर्जन या फिर ज्ञान कभी भी जब बढ़ता है वो तभी बढ़ता है when you are at a point to take that knowledge. जैसे कुमारिला एंड प्रभाकरा का ये स्टोरी है दैट कुमारिला वाज द टीचर एंड प्रभाकर वाज द स्टूडेंट. तो उनके अपनी डिस्कशंस इस कंटेक्स्ट में और बढ़ गई थी that they have to prove certain theories, and when you are proving certain theories you are taking things very seriously and you are going to every extent to prove one or the other. This is not happening right now. That is the fear. अभी क्या हो रहा है अभी whenever you are writing a research paper, it is either a Q1, Q2 or whatsoever. It is something that you are racing for digits again. They were racing for knowledge. So there is a huge difference. अगर आप हिंदू फिलोसफी या फिर वेस्टर्न फिलोसफी को डिफर करेंगे दोनों में ये बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस है that they were only and only doing वाद or संवाद for the knowledge. They were not doing for any number of digits, क्योंकि इसमें ऐसा कुछ लिखा नहीं हुआ है कि कुमारिला के स्कूल को ए डबल प्लस मिलेगा या प्रभाकर के स्कूल को ए डबल प्लस मिलेगा. यहाँ पे सिर्फ ये लिखा हुआ है who is what is the true knowledge and how they are defining each other points or refuting each other's points, right? The Paratah Pramanya doctrine of Nyaya and the Swata Pramanya doctrine of Mimamsa, the doctrine of the self-validity of knowledge. ये हम कल पढ़ें. I don't know, I'm not feeling that much high in energy today. I don't know why. कल भी ऐसे ही हुआ था। कल आई वॉज नॉट फीलिंग हाई इन एनर्जी। किसी की नज़र तो नहीं लग गई इस लाइव को। पर ठीक है, भगवान जैसा चाहेगा वैसा ही होगा। आई स्टार्ट दिस टुमारो। कल शायद इसे डिटेल में पढ़ के आगे करेंगे। मीमांसा इज इटसेल्फ बिग थिंग, एंड उसके बाद शंकरा स्कूल ऑफ फिलोसफी वेदांता भी आएगा। ओके गाइस, अब तक के लिए लाइव इतना ही। आई विल सी यू गाइस इन नेक्स्ट वीडियो टुमारो। जय श्री राम।